Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, and I'm broadcasting to you from Plymouth, America's hometown, Massachusetts, behind enemy lines. And it is a beautiful, snowy Plymouth day here in, as I said, America's hometown. Beautiful day here. We had a big snowstorm the other day. I am probably as happy as you are about what's going on in Canada with the truckers, and I just want to bring this story up to you, bring it up right here for you, just to start off the show. Quebec scraps planned tax on the unvaccinated. This is just breaking just in the last hour or two, so it's working. Keep it up, and I'm also hearing that there might be a kind of U.S. version of that coming up in March. Sounds like it's starting to be organized out of Buffalo. Yeah, who knew? But so Josh Allen's not going to the Super Bowl, but but maybe the truckers are going to Washington. I don't know, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. What I wanted to do to talk to you today about is how, and you know this inherently, but I want to follow up on a story that is from September. And it's a great story about how the Democrats have spun something to their benefit, disregarding the facts because they had good visuals. And I think this is also very important to keep in mind when we look at the Canadian trucker story or maybe a U.S. trucker rally, how the Democrats are constantly looking for ways to take the smallest snippet. I also Democrats left, same thing basically. Smallest snippet of visual to change the narrative, right? You remember that back in September, there was this basically open border, pretty much is still open now, over Del Rio, right? And the immigrants were walking across that water like on a dam, and they were just flowing in from Haiti and from which does not have a land border. Haiti's an island in the middle of the Caribbean, from all over the place, but mostly from Haiti. And they were living under that bridge. Remember that whole story? And then the Biden administration, like, we've got to get rid of that, and they just bulldozed the whole thing, and then shipped the people all over the country, right? Yeah, just disperse the problem. So you remember that during that bridge story, which was getting worse and worse and worse by the day, as Fox, Bill Melugin was down there, and then the Democrats latched on to this one particular picture of the men on the horseback, right? Men on the horseback, and that they were whipping the Haitian immigrants trying to come into the country. And lawmakers are now demanding answers from the Biden administration over the whipping incident. Now, the number one thing that strikes me about this story is that basically nobody in Washington has ever ridden a horse. Because if you had ridden a horse, which even I have here on the East Coast, I've ridden a couple of horses in my lifetime, and I know the difference between a whip and the reins of a horse. Now, when you're riding a horse, the reins are super important, and they have multiple purposes, mostly to do with controlling the horse, putting the horse in the right direction. And obviously, nobody in Washington understands that because they probably never ridden a horse, probably never done that. But that didn't matter because all they saw was a Border Patrol agent with the reins in his hand. Was he whipping somebody with a whip? No. Was he whipping anybody with a reins of a horse? No, because if you watch the extended video, you'll notice the reins of the horse actually never touch any other individual other than maybe the Border Patrol officer himself. So, looking into this, you'll remember all the horrific news coverage. Let's see if we can bring that up there. It was a little slow on the load. Come on, iPad. You remember, here's this tweet from Vice, which pretty much covers the overall coverage. Border Patrol agents are whipping Haitian immigrants at the U.S. and Mexican border. Now, that is a serious allegation. It should be investigated, shouldn't it? Or is it something that we just talk about in the media and not really investigate because maybe it's not actually true? All the likely suspects, Nancy Pelosi, reports of mistreatment of Haitian immigrants are fleeing violence and devastation and natural, blah, 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 blah. All the likely suspects are out here talking about it as if it's by definition happened. Rashida Tlaib, She's tweeting, Dems in power don't make this less inhumane and wrong. AOC, it doesn't matter. iPad is slow today. It doesn't matter if a Democrat or Republican is president. Our immigration system is designed for cruelty towards and dehumanization of immigrants. Immigration should not be a crime. Actually, it should be. AOC, it should be a crime if you're crossing into the border illegally. That's the durr. But of course, she wants open borders. She wants open borders. She doesn't want anybody coming. She doesn't want anybody to be stopped. Borders are very important if you're Ukraine. If you're a Democrat in Washington or a neocon in Washington, then borders for Ukraine, well, they're sacrosanct. Our border on the southern border, or any of our U.S. borders, well, who cares about those? Ukrainian borders, that's what we care about. All right, so anyways, what has happened since this massive scandal? There was supposed to be an investigation and to find out and get to the bottom of it and hopefully have these border agents fired at the very least, if not burned at the stake. We should absolutely positively know what happened to these border agents and how dare they do this. Well, it ends up that actually hasn't happened. It actually hasn't happened. Let's look at this Daily Coro story from today. A group of House Republicans sent a letter Monday. Now, sending a letter is always kind of a lame answer, you know. It's when you're in the minority, you send a letter. When the Republicans take over Congress this fall, they'll be able to do a lot more when they finally get sworn in January. To correct the false narrative that the United States Border Patrol agents whipped Haitian immigrants attempting to illegally enter into the U.S. Republicans, Chip Roy, and others, blah, blah, blah. For 4 months, the Biden administration and your department have gone without even apologizing to the agents that you smeared. The widespread narrative of whipping based on a demonstrable lie, especially by members of this administration, demands the public record be finalized by publicly disclosing investigative work that has been conducted. So basically what these congressmen have said, there's only 6 of them, apparently there's only 6 that have any backbone at all, and maybe not even those 6. After all, they are elected Republicans. What they're saying is it's been 4 months since you perpetrated this lie. And where's the proof that you were accurate? Where's the proof that the border agents whipped Haitian immigrants or any immigrant crossing the border illegally? Why hasn't there been an investigation? Why hasn't it been released? What have been the disciplinary actions? We want justice. If it was so awful, we want justice. Shouldn't justice prevail? No, not when it's a lie. And so there will be no report unless and until like next year when the Republican majority comes in and they go back at this issue. But I'm going to swear to you now that for the rest of the year, there will be no report on the whipping of Haitian immigrants last September, because there is nothing favorable to report that puts the Biden administration or any of the lefty Democrats. Nothing out there proves their point. Nothing. That's why there won't be a report. And this is why it's a really important thing to remember when we have the Canadian trucker thing or any other future protest. The left will take any snippet, lie about it, won't care about the facts, and if they're wrong, they won't investigate it in the future. They just do it to change the narrative, to distract the American people or the Canadian people from what is actually the story. They do it all the time. They did it in Canada the other day when they accused, how many people are up in Canada protesting? 100,000 or whatever it is. They accused all of them. Trudeau came right out and said it. Accused all of them of basically being racists, because 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 out of 100,000 people had some flags that they shouldn't have had, or other types of symbols. It's even possible, I don't know if any of you thought about this, in fact, Tucker showed it, I think it was Tucker that showed it last night in his show, that one of the persons with the Confederate flag with the truck on it was fully masked. Is it possible that he was actually a lefty that came in there with this flag to make them look bad, but wouldn't even show his face? He's the only, well, that could have been on Hannity. I can't remember what program that was on. But is it possible that the 3 or 4 people with the unfavorable flags, which are disgusting symbols, Nazi flags, disgusting. Is it possible? It could have been Whoopi. Could have been Whoopi. I don't know. Is it possible that some of those people are actually leftists that are looking to discredit the big movement? I think that's something to think about. Hey, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, broadcasting from beautiful downtown Plymouth, America's hometown, in Massachusetts, behind enemy lines. Hey, I'll see you next episode. Thanks very much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.